Hi everybody, this is Josh Becerra from Augurian. I'm here with Terry Wu from Neuromarketing Services. Terry's been in neurosciences for 30 years, marketing for 16 years, and Neuromarketing Services has been around for over 5 years now.
Yep.
So I saw Terry at a talk he gave not too long ago on the topic of neuromarketing. I thought it was super interesting, so I invited him here to do an Augurs on the town. So thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think we should just get out of the way really quickly is kind of the difference between neuromarketing and subliminal marketing or messaging.
Yeah. Great question. Subliminal marketing has got a really bad reputation.
Yeah.
Because people think it's kind of a manipulation, it's kind of a sneaky, which it is.
Yeah.
But the goal is subliminal marketing is try to catch you without your paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Without you knowing it, and then also they know something is not something you want. They try to manipulate you.
Yeah.
But neuromarketing is about understanding consumers' experiences, understanding how the emotions and influence the experiences.
Yep.
And then by understanding, the goal is giving consumers a good experience. You cannot, in marketing, you're not been in marketing for a long time. You cannot really trick customers to buy something.
No, you don't want to trick people.
Exactly. You trick them once or twice,
Yep.
they find out, and you're gone.
Yeah,
So-
and I think people now more than ever kind of have a good barometer. Like they've got a good sense for when something isn't quite right.
Exactly.
So
And
we
also
stay away from that.
with the internet, people can just talk about their experiences.
Yep.
You cannot get away with it. But good marketing throughout the history, all the very successful companies, they all have been paying attention to customers' experiences. They try to leverage that knowledge to give people a good experience.
Yep.
And it's experience that really sells.
Yep, and they create brands that elicit emotions and things like that. So
Yes.
let's talk a little bit about why the brain makes decisions or how the brain makes decisions.
Okay. The brain makes decisions in the ways we probably don't really think too much, but we're not really conscious of where there are actually two processes. One is fast thinking, one is slow thinking.
Yep.
This actually came out of the work by a very famous psychologist. His name's Daniel Kahneman.
Okay.
He won the Nobel Prize for Economics in 2002. So his research gives a lot of insights on how we think and how we make decisions.
Yep.
Kahneman proposed that inside our brains we have two thinking processes: fast thinking, slow thinking. The fast thinking is intuitive, unconscious, uncontrolled, automatic.
Yeah.
The slow thinking is controlled, conscious, analytical, and logical.
Okay.
So I can give you an example.
Yeah.
If I have a picture to show you a baby face, you can tell right away within a fraction of a second that's a baby face. I show you a picture of a car, you can tell right away that's a picture of a car.
Yep.
So those are the examples of fast thinking process. You don't have to think about it.
Yep. And I probably have some emotions tied to those things
Exactly.
as well. Yeah.
Exactly. If I show you an angry face, you can tell right away that's an angry face, and certain part of the brain become activated when you see the angry face.
Yep.
If I show you a happy face, and other parts of the brain become activated, you can tell right away without thinking about it.
Sure. I get it.
Yeah. The slow thinking process, you have to slow down, do the in-depth analysis. You say you do a project for a client, you have to analyze the clients, their products or services, their clients, and how they want to sell it, their pricing, their competition.
Yep.
You have to do very in-depth analysis. That involves slow thinking process. Or another example of slow thinking process, you go to a restaurant, you want to pay tips for say 25%, and you could calculate the check amount, and then the tip amount you want to pay, and to slow down with the calculation. We're not born to do calculus. You have to, if you want to do calculus, you have to learn it. And that's slow thinking process. You try to solve a calculus problem, you have to slow down to the calculation.
Got it. All right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we make
think.
decisions, how we think. So one of the topics that I think you covered that I thought was interesting that kind of layers then on top of that is bias. So there's a number of different biases that you talked about. Can you talk about some of those or an example of one in particular?
Neuromarketing is about understanding how the emotions influence consumer decisions. But the question is, how do emotions influence our decisions? our emotions have created many unconscious biases. We're just not aware of them, but they're always there to influence our decisions. One of the powerful emotions we have is fear.
Yeah.
And fear protects us from doing, very risky things.
Yep.
But at the same time, fear can cripple us for not doing things.
Right.
So with fear, we try to avoid taking losses. This tendency to avoid losses is the loss aversion bias.
Right.
Which simply means we try to avoid taking losses and we're taking risks.
Yep.
With loss aversion bias, we prefer situations that are risk-free and loss-free.
Yep.
So this is a very common, very powerful bias we know, but we're not aware of it.
Yeah. So let's talk about some examples of how we see today marketers taking this understanding of loss aversion bias and using it to be transparent, but to trigger some emotions in people to get them to kind of purchase things emotionally, maybe quicker than they would otherwise.
Yeah, I'll give you a scientific study that demonstrates how the loss aversion works, and then I'll give you an example, in real life, in marketing example, how to take advantage of the loss aversion bias to get the marketing message stronger.
Okay.
So here's a study. The researchers create a game. This game, and then they want to see how many people want to participate in this game.
Okay.
Very simple game. I flip a coin. We see heads, you win $10. We see tails, you lose $10.
Yeah.
The question is,
I don't want to play that game.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
Most people are not willing to play this game.
Right.
It's simply because the pain of losing $10 cannot be compensated by the joy of winning $10.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, you have a good chance of winning $10. You walk away with $10.
Yeah,
but people say
50%.
Yeah, people say, well, no, I won't take that chance.
Right. If it was like $100 or $1,000 to $10, I'm in.
Yeah, you're in. So between $10, winning $10, and winning $1,000, there got to be a number above which most people say, yeah, I'm willing to take that chance.
Yeah, yeah.
So the researcher found out you have to raise the winning amount to about $25.
Okay.
So if the winning amount is $25, and the losing amount is $10, people say, yeah, I'm willing to play this game.
Yeah.
What this means is the pain of losing $10 can only be compensated by the joy of winning $25.
Right. So you effectively overcome that loss aversion bias.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you reach a certain point and say, hey, now the risk is worth taking.
Yeah.
But our default position is, I don't want to take that risk.
Yeah.
So with the loss aversion bias lingering in the back of our head, a loss looms larger than gain.
Sure.
This is how we perceive a loss against gain.
Yeah. So how does it play out in marketing terms? What are companies doing to kind of trigger that loss or overcome that loss aversion bias?
Great question. With the loss aversion bias, we prefer situations that are risk-free or loss-free. So if you give people something free, you can trigger along the way. You sell something and then you add something for free.
Yep.
That can literally trigger this loss aversion bias. Because when they add something for free, people say, hey, I can get this thing without taking any risk, without taking any loss.
Yep.
So this actually, when you have something for free, you provide more than the price cut. You trigger this loss aversion bias. And the loss aversion bias is tied into our emotion.
Yep. So like Amazon will offer you free shipping and free returns. So that pretty much send me, 4 pairs of shoes and I'll send back the 3 that I don't like and I'll keep the one that I do. And I don't have any sort of loss aversion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Amazon Amazon free shipping actually was a brilliant way to, leverage its power to sell more. Because Amazon when Amazon rolled out its service in France, actually the shipping was not free.
Okay.
But the shipping was kind of equivalent to maybe less than $1, very cheap amount.
Yeah.
But even with less than $1, and people did not really like it.
Yeah.
And then they thought that was something they were reluctant to have. But they dropped the shipping charge, and then suddenly their sales skyrocketed.
Wow.
It's just a very powerful way to kind of persuade more people to buy.
Yeah.
And then I give you this really interesting research study and that tested how we use the power of free to increase sales. It's very relevant to the Amazon example. So suppose you want to sell an iPhone holder for $10 or $20.
Yep.
So the researchers tested 3 ways to price the to do the price.
Okay.
To price the product and then price the product and shipping. The first option is $15 for the product and then $5 for shipping.
Yep.
They found out most people don't like it. You can sell a few, but not too many.
Right.
The second option is the price of the product is $20. Shipping is free.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Then
better.
you see
that's what we usually see out
Right,
there. Yeah.
exactly. You see it on Amazon, on eBay,
Yep.
on all these online shopping stores. And then the third option is this iPhone holder you can get for free, but you pay me $20, I'll ship it to you.
Okay.
You can sell even more.
Wow.
But 3 options, they're all identical.
Yeah.
But by introducing either free shipping or free product, you trigger this loss aversion bias,
Right.
and then you trigger this emotional response.
Yeah.
That emotional response overpowers the rational thinking we have, which is all these 3 options at the same price.
Yeah, I mean, you got me thinking about like the last time I was looking at like a couple of seats on an airline, and they were saying there's only 4 seats left at this price or something like that. Or I was looking at a hotel, and they were saying, there's 10 people looking at this right now, and there's only 15 rooms available, and so like all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I need to like call my wife, and we need to make a decision, and I need to buy this right now.
Exactly.
Otherwise I'm going to lose it. Right.
Right.
So they're kind of flipping that on its head.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in terms of selling, you can price, say you sell canned tomatoes, you can have different ways of pricing it. And then one common way I saw, a lot of the stores they sell say, oh, you can get 3 for the price of 2.
Yeah.
But if you flip it, you can say buy 2 get 1 free.
Yeah.
You introduce that free concept, then guess what? You can sell more.
Sales go up.
Yeah, sales go up. So it's just like a reframing. You're not changing anything.
Yep.
But just by introducing that free concept, you buy 2, get 1 free.
Yeah.
Instead of saying you pay 2 get 3.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
So a couple other things that I know that you covered in your talk that I thought were interesting was like the power of speed and color. Those 2 things I thought were really interesting, and you gave some interesting examples. Maybe you want to talk about color first?
Yeah, I'll talk about color. Color. The example I used is a Google example. We know that color can influence our emotions, our behavior. We have known this for hundreds and thousands of years.
Yeah.
But this influence actually happens at the unconscious level. We don't pay much attention to it. So Google, in their Google advertising, the Google paid ad, they're all colored in blue.
Yep.
You click on these blue links. Every time you click on these blue links, Google makes money.
Yep.
We know
all about that.
Paid marketing.
Yeah.
These days it's very expensive. Sometimes.
Yeah, depending on the keyword, it can be hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, it can be $5 a click, $50 a click, you earn $500 a click. So Google wants its users to click on these ads more often, so Google can make more money. But Google was very clever. Google did not just say, "Hey, our CEO or our VP of marketing like this color, so we use this blue color." But blue color can come in different shades. So Google secretly tested close to 50 shades of blue in the background. They want to see which shade of blue could generate more clicks.
Yeah, and they actually found one.
They found one. They found one shade of blue. That blue. By adopting that shade of blue, Google increases annual revenue by $200 million. Wow.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Just to think a color change could do that.
Yeah, but the more interesting thing is, Josh, I actually looked at the 2 blues, the before and after.
Yeah.
You blow them up, you put it in front of your eyes, you barely can see the difference. But the thing is, neuromarketing is about understanding how the unconscious mind influences our decisions.
Yeah.
Unconsciously, we do notice the difference.
Yeah.
Even consciously, we don't say, yeah, they look the same, but unconsciously, we can tell the difference.
Yeah.
We prefer one versus the other. So this is actually the power of the unconscious mind. Right. The power of neuromarketing, how can actually play into increase sales, increase the power, effectiveness of marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have a service called conversion rate optimization where we definitely do A/B tests around color. So if you're a software as a service company and you're trying to get more free trials and you have a button on your landing page and that button currently is green, we might suggest that we change the shade of green or even go to orange or blue or something else.
Exactly.
Just to see, with the same traffic to the same page, get a higher conversion rate just based on color alone. And sometimes that does work out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, Terry, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
I think we could talk about this for a long time. But Neuromarketing Services, Terry Wu, you can actually see him. You did a TED Talk not too long ago. Yep. So if you look up Terry's name and Neuromarketing Services on YouTube, you should be able to find it.
You can find it on YouTube just by looking for Neuromarketing TED Talk.
There you go.
You can find it. It's a 17-minute talk. It changed the way you think about how we make decisions and how we kind of especially make buying decisions, and how actually unconscious might influence our decisions.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I use a lot of examples and use some research studies to kind of convey the idea. And I always tell people, as long as you use Google or you shop on Amazon, you can benefit by watching this video.
There you go. Yeah. So that's just about everybody, because everybody uses Google and Amazon, I think, at this point. So, all right. Well, thanks, Terry, for being here. Really appreciate it. That's it for today. Thanks. Bye.